new Premier League season is now just a couple of days away, but Manchester City have still got a big problem to fix. What is that problem, I hear you ask, and will they have time to do so? Well, we'll get into it in this video, but if you are new around here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, get involved in the City Ramble. We've got a Discord channel as well. The link to that is in the description. You're not going to want to miss what we've got coming up on this channel over the next couple of weeks ahead of the new Premier League season. There's going to be plenty of previews, hot take videos, all of the lovely stuff that I know you guys absolutely adore. So make sure to be getting involved in that. But Man City's big problem, Pep Guardiola's biggest task, what is it? What is it? Is it signing a new right back? No. Is it getting rid of some players that possibly shouldn't be at the club anymore? Possibly. But I don't think that's the biggest problem. I actually think the biggest problem City are going to have this season, and they've probably got to fix it soon and sharpish when the season gets underway, is getting their fear factor back. I think City getting their fear factor back is going to be the biggest problem for City and Guardiola. Because, look, last year was last year. We've done all of the reviews. We've spoken about how bad it was at times. You know, just think of some of the absolutely appalling defeat City had during that run of, what was it, one win in 13 matches or something like that. You know, the collapse against United, the matches where City were drawing Feyenoord, and there was a Palace draw in there, which they probably should have done better with as well. There was just some really bad performances. You know, Aston Villa, the Liverpool game later on in the season where City were just, you know, a bit sheepish, really. Obviously, that Arsenal battering that we had in, I think it was early February time. There were some results last season which were absolutely terrible. And we know that. We've been over that. We don't need to relive that trauma. But I don't think you can underestimate in football how just one bad year can change the mentality of other clubs. Because think back to 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024 when City won those 4 titles in a row. You know, go back before that as well. 2018, 2019 when Guardiola got his first couple of league titles. City were absolutely dominant. Even when they weren't necessarily playing well in, you know, small patches, teams would come to the Etihad Stadium fearful, terrified, because City could rip through them. You know, whether or not it was in the earlier days of Sane, Sterling, Aguero, where City would, you know, on some days felt like they could score about 10 goals, you know, Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva ripping it up. Or even a bit, you know, more recently when we had the treble season, and if City weren't going to win 3-0, you bet your bottom dollar that they were going to defend a 1-goal lead. You know, Ruben Diaz putting his body on the line, John Stones, Kyle Walker sweeping up attacks and stuff like that. That at the moment has obviously dipped a little bit because, look, let's face it, like we said, last season wasn't great. City struggled. Getting that fear factor back, I feel like, could be City's biggest issue, because you don't want to slip into the sort of, I guess, malaise that Chelsea and United slipped into after their periods of success. You know, when I was growing up, Chelsea were, for a chunk of the early 2000s, mid-2000s, and, you know, even going into the early 2010s, Chelsea were like a really formidable team. Going to Stamford Bridge was terrifying, especially under Mourinho, where they had that run where they didn't lose there for however long. The incredible home run, and, you know, John Terry, Frank Lampard, plays like that, Petr Cech. That almost immediately disappeared. Like, I don't know what it was. Obviously, they won the league again a couple of times. Once under Conte, I think Mourinho came back and won it as well. So they had league titles in the sort of the mid-2010s, but it quickly disappeared. You know, obviously, the United one is possibly the most obvious one. That's a bit different because David Moyes obviously came in. And what you get the point. You know what I'm getting at here. I just feel like City have to make sure, by whatever method they can, that doesn't happen. And I guess the only method that is really going to be suitable for City this season to make sure that fear factor doesn't disappear is blowing teams away. Now, they might have been dealt a bit of a decent hand, actually, because you look at the fixture list to start off with. Obviously, we begin the campaign against Wolverhampton Wanderers away from home, which in the past has been a difficult place for City to go. I don't think it's the worst opening game of the season. Come back to me when City have lost 2-0. What is it, Saturday the 15th of August? Yeah, we'll maybe have a look then. But I think, you know, on the whole, it feels like that's going to be a decent enough game for City to get up and running. Straight after that, though, it's Spurs at home. we know what Spurs at home has done in the past, the trauma, even from those good periods we were speaking about with City. Then you've got Brighton away, again, always difficult. It's the Manchester derby, fourth game of the season, then it's Arsenal away. So those first 5 games alone for City, there's plenty of tests there, plenty of tests, and I feel like, yes, you might look at them and you could say, they're scary fixtures in some parts anyway. Spurs, United, Arsenal, the games that can maybe on the day go either way. Spurs coming to City, United, Manchester derby, anything can happen. Obviously battered by Arsenal, unfortunately, last season. But imagine City come out of those 5 games unbeaten, let's say. Maybe you don't have to win all of them, but they might get a good result at the Emirates, or they might get a really good win against United at home, something like that. To send a statement to the rest of the league that early on, I think could be very beneficial for City, especially when you look at some of the other fixtures that other competitors have got. I know Arsenal's first 6 games is pretty terrifying. And look, they could do exactly the same as City. Liverpool could do the same as City as well, if they were to win a few of the big games to start off with. But I feel like that fixture list could actually play into City's hands a little bit, because you want to put a marker down, basically, don't you? You want to say to the rest of the league, look, last season was bad, but we're back. And I do think I am going to back City to do this, actually. I feel like maybe it's blind optimism, maybe it's sort of copium, I don't know. But I feel like from what we've seen so far in pre-season, a little bit of the Club World Cup as well, obviously, that didn't go to plan, but I think it was the end of a long season. We've been over that already. But I'm backing the City players purely because it comes across like they are hungry. They look like they were embarrassed by last season. And to be fair, at times, like that 1-winning 13 run, whatever it was, losing to Palace in the FA Cup final, you might make the argument that they probably should have been. So I feel like they have got a point to prove, not only to the rest of the league, not only to the City supporters, but I would also say to themselves, Ruben Diaz has been talking a great game. You've brought in, some fresh young faces who haven't had the previous success to rely on. Ryan Shirky, Ait Nouri, Tajani Reinders, James Trafford now as well, even Omar Mamouche, Nico Gonzalez, Kusanov last in the January window. They haven't won a Premier League title. They've not won a trophy with City. I mean, how starting last season, it was only Savinho that came in that hadn't won a trophy with City, because the other transfer that City made was obviously Gundogan. I would say, just off quick maths off the top of my head, close to half of this team probably haven't won a trophy with City, and that's mad when you think about how successful the City squad has been over the last sort of half a decade, even a bit longer. So I feel like that hunger's going to be there. Obviously, we've seen Pep Lijnders come in as well. Some of the clips in training with him and Kolo Touré, the intensity of the training sessions is sort of really high. We're seeing sort of Guardiola come out and say that, in a way, failing last season was good because it makes him hungrier to go on and get success again with City. So I feel like, whilst I maintain that the biggest problem for City this season will be getting their reputation back intact, making sure clubs still have that fear factor. The Etihad Stadium is, back to being a terrible place to go instead of it being like a bit of a clown show at times last year. I do think that's the biggest problem for City, but at the same time, I am confident that they'll be able to get over that hurdle. People, looking at the title of this video or looking at the thumbnail or whatever, or listening to me speak, might be going, yeah, but there's no right back. There's still some unks in the team. There's this, that, the other. Honestly, I'm not saying City's squad is perfect by any means, but I think it's well balanced. I think City have amended the areas that they had to, brought in a new midfielder who is ready to play now. That was the crucial part. Like with Omar Mamouche in January, when City needed an attacker to come in and sort of hit the ground running, Tajani Reinders is ready now. Say the same about left back with Ait Nouri. I'm holding my hands up. I don't know. I'm not saying I don't think he will, but I don't know how much Ryan Shirky will feature in the early parts of the season for City. It feels like he could be maybe a signing that in the first 6 months of the season is bedded in a little bit. He obviously learns the ropes, gets to play. I hope we get to see him plenty, but to me, he's more of an option in the squad, and I think he's a terrifyingly good option as well. But obviously Foden, we've not even mentioned Phil Foden, the season he had last year on the back of winning player of the season. So I just feel like things have fallen into place. Again, the squad isn't perfect. You might look at the right back situation, but I think City and Guardiola almost by committee will be able to fill that gap. If it's Nunes, if it's Rico Lewis, if it's Akanji, if it's whatever. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I think it could be fine. It could be okay. But yeah, I just feel like the pieces are falling into place. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Liverpool with the transfer business they've done. They're defending champions. They'll be expected to do much better in the Champions League. Arsenal, in my opinion, if Mikel Arteta doesn't win one of the big 2 trophies this season, that's going to be his last year at Arsenal, because I don't think the ownership will accept the fact that they've spent so much money. Maybe if they get an FA Cup and get to a Champions League final, then fair. But I just feel like for Arsenal, the pressure is going to be big. Chelsea, unexpectedly winning the Club World Cup, that's heaped the pressure on them. They were kind of, on the outside. Could they challenge City, Liverpool, Arsenal? For me now, they'll be going into the season, people will have eyes on them. City, almost whisper it, are a little bit of an underdog because they don't need to prove anything to anyone in terms of success, because Guardiola's won plenty of league titles. There is that sort of hunger that I've spoken about, getting that fear factor back, which I think will be running through the squad. But there isn't, there's not a £150 million signing that's just walked through the door. In Liverpool's case, they might even have 2. So I don't necessarily know if the pressure, the expectation will be on them, which can work in their favour. But like I say, they've got to get that fear factor back. And I think if they do that, then it could be tasty, guys. It really could be tasty. And I don't know if I'm alone here. I know there's some people still moaning about transfer business and whatnot, but I'm ready now. I'm ready for this season to get underway, because I feel like City are in a good spot. I feel like Guardiola's got that mentality back within the squad. We've got the new faces, we've got the new coaches. I feel like we're going to be seeing a few tactical tweaks as well, which will be interesting to see at the start of the season, sort of how City set up and get a sort of an idea as to how we might be playing this season. So yeah, I'm excited. I hope you're excited too. If you're not excited, make sure to be sticking around to the City Ramble, because we'll give you videos, we'll give you reasons to get excited. Get involved in the Discord as well as usual. Hit the subscribe button, and until next time, you've been watching the City Ramble, but we'll see you later.